Morning, everyone. So, welcome back to our Strive 365 Current Affairs free classes. As you all know, as part of this series, we are discussing the past 1 to 1.5 years current affairs and the background related to those topics. So, this will be helpful for your upcoming Prelims 2025. And in this particular video series, we will be explaining all the topics in detailed and crisp manner. So, and each subject will be dealt by different faculty who are experts in that subject and have mastered this particular prelims code. So without wasting our time, let us begin with our class. So as part of the first subject, we are discussing the international relations, and this is the 8th lecture and the final lecture in this particular series for this time. So let us begin. We left discussing the places in news. So the next important particular place in news is the Chabahar port. So the Chabahar port, why it is in news? Because recently India signed a 10-year agreement with the Iran for the development of the Shahid Beheshti port terminal at the Chabahar port. So where is the Chabahar port? So here we have India. So this is the Gulf of Oman and this is the country Iran. And here is the strategic Chabahar port. So we are developing this particular Chabahar port with an interest to connect with the Central Asia. Because when we get access to this particular Chabahar port, from here we have the Zahedan Zaranj. So Zaranj Delarum road in the Afghanistan is built, and from here Zahedan. So that is the connecting this port connectivity with respect to the railway network is done within the Iran. So in this way, we will be able to transport our goods bypassing the Pakistan, because Pakistan won't give an access for us, or even if it is giving an access to transport, so it might stoppage or the check this block this particular blockade during the time of crisis also. So there is some strategic interest which are involved. So from here we can have the Kandla port, Mundra port, JPT port. From all this, so we can have the by ship route we can go to the Chabahar port, and from here to the Zahedan, that is a city in Iran, and then Zaranj, and then to the Delaram in Afghanistan, and from here we can connect it to the Central Asia. So that is the overall plan. So as part of that, the Chabahar port is very strategic. So this particular thing is the Gulf of Oman. So be careful about this particular aspect. Next is the Kursk region. So why Kursk region is in news? So Ukraine has been, the Ukraine-Russia war has been going on, and in the Kursk region is one of the hot points of this particular area. So Russia has declared an emergency in the Kursk region because Ukraine is gaining a stronghold in particular region, and as part of their retaliation strikes, so Ukraine is making advances into the Russian territory. So where is this Kursk? So it is here, that is in the Russian territory. So this particular entire is the Russia. So here is the Kursk region and this is the Ukraine. So here the main part of the war is going on, that is Donetsk, Luhansk, this area. Okay, and here this is the Belarus. Please remember this map. It is important because the conflict of the Russia-Ukraine is still in very much hot. That is why it is very important to remember. And what is this location? It is located in the central Russia, and it is part of the Eastern European plain, so which is having a border with the Ukraine. Now, the geography of this one is it is the basin of the Dnieper and the Don River. So look at this map as part of today's assignment. Please look at the flow and the drainage basin of these two particular rivers. And soil is fertile black soil. Some of the natural resources include the iron ore, phosphorus, and peat. This is what you have to remember. Then next important in the news is about the UK is handing over the sovereignties of the Chagos Island to the Mauritius. That is why it is in the news. So that we have to know what is this particular Chagos Island. Now both countries have signed an historical political agreement in order to hand over the Chagos Island to the Mauritius. And US-UK joint base of the Diego Garcia Atoll, it will remain with the US. So where is this Chagos Island? If you remember, if you see here carefully, this is India and this is Maldives, and here it is the Sri Lanka. Now this particular archipelago is the Chagos archipelago. Historically, it is belongs to this Mauritius, but due to the colonization aspect, so this has been taken over by UK, and this particular Diego Garcia Island, that is which is present in this particular region, has been given by UK to US on a lease. So here currently the USA maintains a military base in this particular region. So now, as part of the ongoing or the extended decolonization process, UK has agreed that it will be handing over the Chagos archipelago, Chagos Islands, to the Mauritius. So some important facts about the Chagos archipelago is that it is located around 500 kilometers south from the Maldives in the Indian Ocean region. And until 18th century, it has been uninhabited. And later, the French has colonized it. After that, the French has ceded this island to British in 1814. And the British Indian Overseas Territory. So this has been formed in UK with the Chagos as the central part. So some BIOT islands were ceded to Seychelles in 1976. Some islands which are part of this British Indian Ocean Territory has been ceded to Seychelles. Now, this archipelago was detached from the Maurice by UK in 1965, 3 years before the Mauritius has gained the independence. So just before the independence given to the Mauritius, this particular archipelago is detached from the Mauritius by the UK. Next, Philadelphia Corridor. So the Philadelphia Corridor, why it is in news? It is a 14-kilometer long wide buffer zone that is present along the Gaza-Egypt border. So ongoing Hamas and the Israel conflict with respect to that, this is the one of the important location. It connects the Mediterranean Sea to the Kerim Shalom crossing. So if you see the map carefully here you can find this Philadelphia Corridor, where Israel wants to retain control of the border with respect to the Egypt. So that is why it is in the news. So this is the Gaza Strip, and here it is the Israel. So this is the Rafah crossing, which is also in the news. This is important. And here it is the Egypt that is present. So this is in the, now what is the importance of this one? It contains the entire Philadelphia Corridor contains the Rafah crossing point. So it has been demilitarized in 2005 after the Israel's withdrawal from the Gaza. And it is particularly now managed by the Egypt as well as the Palestinian Authority. Currently, it is very significant in the ongoing Israel-Hamas ceasefire talks because it is a strategic corridor that is going to decide the regional security as well as the border control. That's why Philadelphia Corridor has to be known to you. Next is the Triton Island. So recently, some satellite imagery that has revealed that there is a significant military buildup by the China on this particular Triton Island. Where is this Triton Island? It is located in the Paracels in the South China Sea. And also it is known as the Zhisha Islands in the China. So China has this act of changing these names in particular to their Chinese language. So in order to have the strategical significance or the building of the what we'll be saying this is the it is building a convention over the people that these particular islands belongs to China. So in that regard, in order to make them understand the area name in their own language, they start naming these particular islands also. But usually the globe recognizes it as the Paracel Islands in the South China Sea. Here we have the Triton Island. It is effectively controlled by China, but it is also claimed by the Vietnam and the Taiwan. And China took over control of the Paracels from the South Vietnam following this 1974 naval clash. So after that, it has been the China which has been maintaining this. And military buildup is representing a escalation in the situation in the South China Sea. As yesterday we have discussed about the various other places that are in the news, such as the Scarborough Reef, Spratly Islands. So these are we discussed. Now Paracel is here. So these are the Paracel Islands, and here is the Triton Island. Okay, please remember Triton Island and with which countries it is conflicted. It is Vietnam, Taiwan, as well as the China. Now the next important is the Kerch Strait. So recently, a Russian tanker has crashed in a storm, spilling oil in the Kerch Strait. That is why it is in the news. So where is this Kerch Strait? So this is the Russia, and here is the Sea of Azov. And here it is Mariupol. Now this is the Crimean Peninsula, which Russia has been annexed, and this is Ukraine. So this is Sevastopol. So here in this particular, this is the Kerch Strait. Remember here, this is the Kerch Strait. So this is connecting with the Black Sea and the Sea of Azov. So it is located on the eastern part of the Crimean Peninsula. So this is the eastern part of the Crimean Peninsula, and it connects with the Black Sea and the Sea of Azov. So that is the importance of this Kerch Strait. So it is a narrow waterway between two pieces of land that connects the two large bodies of the water. So two large bodies of the water water is connected by the narrow waterway between the two pieces of land. What is the significance here? It is a key route for the exports of the Russian grain and for the export of the crude oil, fuel, LNG, and all this. So that is why, with respect to the trade, it is very crucial in this regard. So this is what all the details about the maps in the news. Next important subheadings in the topics is the operations, disputes, or the military exercises. These also in the news. So the UPSC is growing tendency has been that it is asking the any military exercise that are in the news or any particular operations that are in the news. So that is why we have to discuss all this in detail, whichever present in the last 1 year. So the first one is the mission aspides. So what is this mission aspides? The European Union has launched this mission in order to protect the Red Sea vessels from the Iran-backed Houthi attacks. So as you all know, Iran-backed Houthis are present in the Yemen region. So here, if you can see in the Yemen, so the Iran-backed Houthis is a terrorist group which is present, and this is the crucial Red Sea route. So where the world trade, almost 60% of the world's trade passes through this particular region. So that is why, so here, in order to protect this particular vessels, merchant vessels or any significant trade vessels from the Iran-backed Houthi attacks, European Union has launched this particular mission spikes. So in order to overall, the main goal is that to protect from the Houthi attacks, but in an overall vision, it is to preserve the freedom of navigation, provide maritime situational awareness, etc. All this particular thing. And its area of operation will include the Bab al-Mandeb Strait, Strait of Hormuz, as well as the international waters such as the Red Sea, Gulf of Eden, Arabian Sea, Gulf of Oman, and Arabian Gulf. Now, this makes important for you to read all this particular map. So here I have provided you all those things. So this is Red Sea. So this is particular Arabian Sea. Here we have the Gulf of Oman, and here this is called the Horn of Africa, and here we have the Gulf of Eden, and this particular strait is called the Bab al-Mandeb Strait. Next, so Bab al-Mandeb Strait, Strait of Hormuz is here, and then Red Sea, Gulf of Eden, all this we have discussed. Here is the Strait of Hormuz. Next, so the next important one which is in the news is Operation Indravati. So India has launched this particular Operation Indravati in order to evacuate its nationals from the Haiti. So in the Dominican Republican. So this is a Caribbean island. So the Caribbean island Haiti has been under a state of emergency after some armed groups has attacked this country. So during that time, on the ongoing operation, 12 Indians were evacuated from this particular Haiti. So as part of your assignment, please find out the map. Yesterday we have discussed this particular also, but please find out where this Haiti is located on the world map. Next is about the Tibet-China dispute. So there is a dispute between the Tibet as well as China. So the US Congress has passed a promoting a resolution to the Tibet-China Disputes Act. That is why the Tibet-China has resurfaced again. So what is this policy stating? That the dispute between the Tibet and China has to be resolved in accordance with the international law. That is what it is stating, which includes the UN Charter. So international law includes a UN Charter, and by a peaceful means, that is by the dialogue. Okay, so dialogue and the negotiations has to take place in accordance with the international law in order to resolve the dispute between the Tibet and China. That is what it is said in this particular act. And it also supports the Dalai Lama's middle way approach. So as you all know, Dalai Lama is leading the Tibet Autonomous Council in as part of the government in exile by seeking the political asylum in India. Okay, under which the Tibet would remain part of the People's Republic of China, but Tibetans would have a meaningful autonomy. So this is the middle way approach that has been proposed by the Dalai Lama. So in order to not giving a direct control to the Chinese government directly, the Dalai Lama accepts that we will be accepting Tibet as an integral part of the People's Republic of China, but instead they have to give some autonomy. So some of the autonomous provisions has to be provided for them. Next, what is this particular Tibet-China dispute overview? You have to just know about this particular thing. So it is a military conflict between China and Tibet, which has started in the 20th century. So what happened is Tibet has declared itself as an independent nation in 1912. So Tibet has been declared as an independent nation, and it used to function as an autonomous region until 1950. So from 1912 to 1950, it was an independent nation. In 1951, the Dalai Lama's representatives signed a 17-point agreement that has granted the China's sovereignty over Tibet for the first time. So now what is this China's claim? This document is the proof of the China's sovereignty over the Tibet. And while Tibet is saying that it was under the coercive mechanism that has forced to sign this particular document. So this is the conflict that has arisen in the Tibet and China. Now, what is the India stand on this one? In 1959 itself, India has granted the political asylum to the Dalai Lama, and from India, Dalai Lama is governing the symbolic government, that is the government in exile. He is leading the government in exile. And in 2003, the government of India has recognized Tibet Autonomous Region as part of the PRC. So, as part of our goodwill relationship with the China and the negotiations with respect to the both the countries, we have recognized that Tibet Autonomous Region is part of the PRC. Following which, signing of the Declaration on Principles for Relations and Comprehensive Cooperation between India and China. So, as part of our strategic interest in the India-China relations, we have signed that. So, this is about that particular dispute. Now, there are some particular military exercises in the news. You have to know. So, be carefully reading this about this one. Exercise Varuna. So, a bilateral naval exercise. So, it is bilateral naval exercise between the India and France. That you have to remember. And the 2024 edition was held in the Mediterranean Sea with the India's Navy P-8I. So, Sidon aircraft has participated for the first time in the Europe. So, just you have to remember that the exercise Varuna is a bilateral naval exercise between the India and France, and the latest edition, that is 2024 edition, has held in the Mediterranean Sea. That is the important fact. Next, exercise Eastern Bridge 7. So, it is the 7th edition of the exercise between the Indian Air Force as well as the Royal Air Force of the Oman, and it has held in the Masira in the Oman. You have to remember that. So, the 7th edition of the Eastern Bridge exercise between the Air Force of India as well as the Oman was held in the Masira in Oman. Next is exercise Al-Naja. It is a 5th edition was held recently, that is between the Indian Oman joint military exercise, which is held in the Salalah in the Oman. So the Oman, the two important exercises that are held with the Oman, you have to remember. Next is the Yuddh Abhyas. It is a bilateral army exercise between the India and the US. Yuddh Abhyas, bilateral army exercise between India and US. Next, Tarang Shakti. So this is very important. It is also in very much news. So Tarang Shakti is a biannual multilateral air combat exercise. So it is not just between two countries, it is between multiple countries, which is hosted by India. So India is hosting this particular multilateral air combat exercise biannually, and it includes countries, important countries such as Australia, Greece, Sri Lanka, etc. So Tarang Shakti is important. You have to remember this particular. Next, Malabar naval exercise. This is very important. It is a naval exercise which includes the Quad countries, that is the India, Australia, Japan, and US. And Malabar exercise, naval exercise, is termed as a core for the formation of the official Quad. So that is what it is important. Next is the Indra. It is a bilateral exercise between the India and Russia. So it is a joint military operation between India and Russia. So these are the particular military exercises that are in the news in the past 1 year. Next is some of the operations. Operation Karuna. It is a large-scale evacuation mission which was conducted in 2024 April in order to rescue the Indian nationals from Israel during the Israel-Hamas conflict. So during the Israel-Hamas conflict, so as part of the Operation Karuna, we sent a large-scale evacuation mission. So the operation has successfully evacuated around 1,200 Indian citizens, including about the 18 Nepali nationals. So we always, whenever we perform any evacuation missions in the conflict-ridden countries, we often take care of our neighboring countries which are having good relationship with us, such as the Bangladesh, Nepal, and the Bhutan. And even during some operations, we were successful in bringing out the Pakistan's nationals also. Okay, this operation has done from the Tel Aviv, that is the capital of the Israel, and then it has done using the both Air India and the Indian Air Force aircrafts. This is important. So just important, remember that Operation Karuna is a evacuation mission from the Israel. So, and it has successfully performed in April 2024. Next is the Operation Sadbhav. So India has launched this Operation Sadbhav in order to provide the humanitarian aid to the Laos, Myanmar, and the Vietnam. So why? There is a typhoon typhoon is a tropical cyclone itself in the Pacific Ocean. So Typhoon Yagi is hit the Laos, Myanmar, and the Vietnam. So just like the cyclone in Indian Ocean, we call it as a typhoon in the Pacific Ocean. So it is aligned with the India's Act East policy, where we will be providing the disaster relief in the ASEAN region. So that is the Operation Sadbhav. Next, Northern United 2024. So China and Russia has announced a joint naval as well as the air drill, which is called as the Northern United 2024. Where it is held? It is held in the Sea of Japan and the Sea of Okhotsk. So this exercise aims to strengthen the strategic cooperation between them. But there is some, like China and Russia have the conflict in this particular region with the Japan. So it is a kind of escalation that has been raised by these two particular countries. So where is the Sea of Japan? Sea of Japan, also called as the East Sea, is present between the China, Russia, and Japan. So, and here we have the North Korea and the South Korea as well. So here this is the Korean Strait and this is the La Perouse Strait. So here the Russia and this is the Sea of Okhotsk. Here these are the Kuril Islands. Please find out what is the importance of these Kuril Islands and between which two countries this is disputed. Okay, and please post it in the comment section. This is what you have to remember about the Northern United. Then we have the Axis of Resistance. So the Axis of Resistance is a military Islamist groups that has led by the Iran. So it is a proxy groupings that has been set up by the Iran government indirectly. So it is led by a militant Islamist group such as the Hezbollah. So Hezbollah operates in the Lebanese. It is a Shia militant organization. And Hamas, it is a Palestinian Sunni militant organization. And Palestinian Islamic Jihad group. And the Houthis, Yemen. So mainly Hezbollah, Hamas, and Houthis are very much in news with the recent conflict with the Israel. This you have to know about the military exercises, disputes, as well as the operations which are in the news. Next, we'll move ahead with the awards, reports, as well as the indices. Next, the first is the Global Cooperation Barometer Report of 2024 has released. Who has released this? This is released by the World Economic Forum in collaboration with the McKinsey and Company. So the World Economic Forum, please refer to this. We have discussed in our previous classes. If you have not followed that, you can check it on the playlist in our YouTube channel. Okay, and follow that particular important grouping, and where we have discussed about the important reports that are released by this particular grouping as also. And what are the India's initiatives in particular global cooperation is that, so we are promoting the inclusivity. So for example, African Union has been added to as a permanent member to the G20. This is the effort of the Indian presidency during the G20 presidency. Next, climate actions, Green Development Pact declaration. So this has been done in order to provide a roadmap and in order to have a planet friendly, environment friendly planet. Next, tackling the pandemic. So we have this Vaccine Maitri program where India has supplied the COVID-19 vaccines to the countries which are in need, and as well as to some of the United Nations entities also. So that is why this is also one of the important way. And promoting the solar energy. So India has led the international solar alliance, and also we are from the One Grid initiative. So these are some of the examples of the India's initiatives towards the global cooperation, and our main theme line, that is the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, is the world is a one family. So that is the main theme and the cultural significance we are going to hold in this particular cooperation among the global countries in the conflict-ridden places. Next is about the Henley Passport Index. So this is one of the important. It is released by the Henley and Partners, which is a global leader in the residence and citizenship planning. Okay, so this Henley Passport Index, what it does, it will rank the different passports in accordance to the number of destinations their holders can visit without a prior visa. So for suppose if I am holding an Indian passport, how many countries, how many destinations I can visit without having a visa to that particular area. That based on this information, this HPI ranks this particular countries. So it covers the 227 destinations and 199 passports. Okay, rankings are based on the data provided by the International Air Transport Association. Please remember this key facts. And what are the findings of this 2024 report? India is standing at the 80th rank. So it is in the list of the most powerful passports. India is standing at the 80th rank, and our Indian passport has a visa-free access to the 67 nations. Okay, and France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Japan, Singapore are the number one spot. So these all shared the number one spot. This is about the Henley Passport Index 2024. Next, patent landscape report on the Gen AI. So according to the WIPO patent landscape report on Gen AI, China has ranked as the first with the 70.3% of all generative AI patents that are published during the last 1 decade, while India has ranked the fifth place with the just 2.5% of the generative AI patents which are published. This you have to remember. Patent landscape report on Gen AI is released by the WIPO, World Intellectual Property Organization, and as part of this one, from 2014 to 2023, China has ranked first with the 70% of the generative AI patents. So this is the showing the intensified competition between these two countries, and what is the importance of such education and research in the global competitiveness, because it shows the comprehensive national power. Any terms of education, innovation, research, technology, these form a key components of a soft power initiatives of any country in this technologically forwarding world. Okay, so CNP, that is the comprehensive national power. It is a concept where the comprehensive capabilities of a country in order to pursue the strategic objects by taking the necessary actions. That is the main principle or the definition of this CNP. Next, economic growth. Obviously, the technology will drive the economy of any country. So in also human capital development, all this becomes very vital. Education drives the economy. And then technological dominance. So if we have education and innovation along with the human capital development, there is nothing that is stopping any country from becoming a developed world. Okay, and the strategic aspects like AI and cyberspace will fasten this particular development. And as we have now discussed about what is this WIPO, that is the World Intellectual Property Organization. So it is a UN specialized agency. As I told you, there are specialized agencies to UN. There are affiliated agencies to UN. Also, there are the principal organs of UN. So that is the important differences you have to differentiate. So when it comes to the organs of UN, there are only 6 organs, such as the United Nations General Assembly, United Nations Security Council. And now there are the specialized UN agencies such as the WIPO, that is World Intellectual Property Organization. It was established in 1967 by the WIPO convention. So, and the headquarters of this is located in the Geneva, that is in Switzerland. And it became a UN agency in 1974. Since 1974, it is a UN agency. What are the key points here? It is administrating the 26 international treaties, and it has the 193 member states. The membership is 193. So it will promote the intellectual property worldwide across this one. And it also handles the international patent system through this particular treaty called as Patent Cooperation Treaty. So the entire patent system of the international arena is handled by the WIPO, and it also manages the Madrid system for international trademark registration. So trademark is also a type of the intellectual property. And then oversees the Hague system for the industrial design registration. So industrial design is also a particular form of the intellectual property. So now a small assignment, please check about what are the different types of intellectual properties that are present and what are the rules that are governed in our Indian country with respect to each one. And there are some important treaties such as the Paris Convention for the Industrial Property, Berne Convention for the Literary and Artistic Works, Patent Cooperation Treaty, that is the PCT, and Madrid Agreement for the trademarks. These are some of the important treaties that are covered in this. And what is the India's relationship? India is a member since 1975. So it is not a joining or founding member, but it has joined in the 1975. And we are signatory to the majority of the WIPO administered treaties. So we are also active participant in the standing committee meetings, and we also collaborate on the TKDL, that is the Traditional Knowledge Digital Library. So the collaborations takes place between the WIPO and India in respect to the TKDL. What are the focus areas? As just now I showed, different type of intellectual properties are the patents, trademarks, industrial designs, copyrights, GI tags, that is geographical indicators, trade secrets, etc. And WPO is a self-funding. This is a self-funding organization where it generates the revenue primarily through the PCT system. What is this PCT? Patent Cooperation Treaty System. So next important one is the Indian Chemical Council has won the OPCW, the Hague Award. So what is this OPCW? Organization for the Prohibition of the Chemical Weapons. So this particular organization gives this award called the Hague Award. So Organization for the Prohibition of the Chemical Weapons gives this particular Hague Award, where it contributes to the, the Indian Chemical Council has won this particular for this year. Okay, in 2024, Indian Chemical Council has won this particular award for what? Its contribution towards the chemical safety, compliance with the Chemical Weapon Convention, and this is the first time that the award recognizes the efforts of a chemical industry body. So ICC, that is the Indian Chemical Council, this award has recognized the efforts of this particular chemical industrial body. So that is for the first time. And what is this Hague Award? Hague Award was established first in 2014 in order to honor this OPCW's contribution to Chemical Weapons Convention goals. So there are Chemical Weapons Convention. So that is about, we'll see about the Chemical Weapons Convention. What are these? So the convention was established in 1997 and 193 countries are part of this particular convention, including India. India is also a signatory. What is the primary goal? To eliminate the chemical weapons as a weapons of mass destruction. So in order to eliminate the mass destruction chemical weapons by banning them, that is the primary goal. So whichever organization that is being working towards this goal of the Chemical Weapons Convention, so the OPCW will give this Hague Award. And now in 2024, India has received, that is the Indian Chemical Council has received this one, and it is the first time that a chemical industry body has received this award. Now next, so the organization for the OPCW will serve as an implementing body for this convention. Okay, and it also received a Nobel Peace Prize in 2013 itself for its effort. And by definition, what are these chemical weapons? So the chemical weapons are basically any chemicals which can cause death or harm, including the specially designed munitions or the equipment for the weaponizing toxic chemicals. So any kind of chemicals that are used to cause death or harm, or any designed munitions also comes under this chemical weapons. In India particularly, we have NACWC, that is the National Authority Chemical Weapons Convention, which was established under this Chemical Weapons Convention Act. So as I already told you that any particular convention which has been signed by our country also has to be ratified by our country in the parliament. So as part of that, the Chemical Weapons Convention Act was passed in the parliament, and a authority, executive authority called as National Authority Chemical Weapons Convention has been established, and that will oversee this particular implementation of this convention. And the convention represents the global commitment in order to eliminate the entire category of weapons which are used as a mass destruction. So that is why it is an important international arms control treaty. Okay, this you have to remember. So this is all about the Chemical Weapons Convention. Next we'll see about the ICC. So since ICC, that is the Indian Chemical Council, has won this particular award, so we have to see about this one also. So it is headquartered in Mumbai in India, and it's found in the 1938. What is its main purpose? In order to drive the growth of the Indian chemical industry. That is their functions. It is functioning as an apex national body which will represent all the branches of the India's chemical industry. So it is an umbrella body or the top of the hierarchy. And what are the coverage which are included under this Indian Chemical Council is organic chemicals, inorganic chemicals, plastics, petrochemicals, etc. So these are the main organs that are, or main coverage elements that are present in this particular ICC, and it represents 80% of the India's chemical industry, and it also oversees a sector, that means the chemical sector, which is valued at $220 billion. So these are the some important facts that you can remember for your prelims examination. Next, we will be moving to the last topic under the international relations, that is the terms. So it is not just all the current affairs. So here we are going to cover some of the terms which are there in the news. Okay, so some important terminology which can be related to the international relations, where there can be a simple question which is asking directly, mentioning about a term which is seen recently in the news is about and you will be giving 4 options. That kind of questions will be the easiest question if you directly know the terminology. That's why some of the terminology I'm taking and will explain you in this regard. So the first one is about the debt trap diplomacy. So the debt trap diplomacy is in the news because what is the definition of this one? First, we'll define this. So it is used to define a creditor nation extending a loan to a borrowing nation in order to expand the lender's geopolitical leverage. In simple words, I'll explain you that. If suppose the example directly we are going to take is why it is in the news. China is there. China gives loan to the, suppose Sri Lanka is there. So China has given a loan to Sri Lanka, which is an unviable loan. China has known that Sri Lanka will not be able to pay back this loan. So, but China has given this loan to particularly develop any such infrastructure or for its economic sustenance. So now, since China has given this loan to Sri Lanka and Sri Lanka is not able to pay back this particular loan, this is when China gains some strategic advantage, such as any port or any connectivity project, anything such as that will be taken by the China. So any geopolitical leverage, that can be anything. It can be an infrastructure, it can be a what we'll be saying that foreign policy leverage or any diplomatic leverage, anything such as anything that is having the importance to the creditor nation, that is the debt trap diplomacy. And debt trap diplomacy is allegedly performed by the China and it is evident in the world also. Next is the exo-atmospheric missiles. What are these exo-atmospheric missiles? So these are also known as the anti-ballistic missiles, ABMs. So exo-atmospheric missiles are also called as the anti-ballistic missiles. So they are designed to intercept and destroy the incoming ballistic missiles. So during their mid-course or the terminal phase of the trajectory. So whenever there is a ballistic missile coming, so ballistic missiles usually follow this path of parabola. So during this mid-course or this terminal phase, so these anti-ballistic missiles will intercept and destroy the incoming ballistic missiles. That is why this is the exo-atmospheric missiles, and they use the advanced sensors such as the infrared as well as radar systems, and they will track and detect the incoming threats and use the guidance systems in order to accurately maneuver the counter attack and then intercept the target, even at the high speeds in the space. So it can be doing the atmospheric space also, in the higher atmosphere or in the space area also. So there are different types of exo-atmospheric missiles. So particularly 2 are very important. First is the kinetic kill vehicles. What are these kinetic kill vehicles? They destroy their targets through a physical impact. They directly. So the countermeasures will directly intersect with the incoming ballistic missile and they will be destroying this particular target. The second type is the directed energy weapons, where the lasers or the energy beams are used in order to disable or destroy the particular incoming ballistic missiles. So this is what you have to know about the exo-atmospheric missiles. So the next important is FTI-TTP. What is this FTI-TTP? Fast Track Immigration Trusted Travelers Program. So this entire program is Fast Track Immigration Trusted Travelers Program. So what is the main aim of this one? In order to speed up the immigration clearance process at the major airports which are selected using the electronic gates. So we all know that if there is a major airport, so it will be hustled with many people during the rush hours. Also, there are many checks that are going in this particular different cabins, and the different airlines will follow different things. But this Fast Track Immigration Trusted Travelers Program, so what it does is it integrates all these things in order to speed up this immigration clearance. So at some of the major selected airports using the electronic gates. So this initiative was launched in 2024. Currently, it covers the Indian citizens as well as the OCI card holders. So we cannot directly include all the foreigners right now directly, because we have some of the issues with respect to the smuggling goods and etc. and all these things. So now currently in 21 major airports in India it is operational for the Indian citizens. Suppose if there is an Indian citizen who went to a foreign country and coming back, or else an OCI card holder, that is the overseas citizen of India card holder. So these people can utilize this particular FTI-TTP mechanism in the 21 major airports. And the nodal agency for this implementation is the Bureau of Immigration is the nodal agency for this. Please remember this facts for the prelims. Next, the important term is in the news is the dark shipping. So vessels has operated with the automatic identification system. So the AIS system is there to avoid the tracking. That is why it is called as the dark. Often it is used for the illegal activities only. So that is why it is called as the dark shipping. So what the shipping vessels will do is they will use this particular AIS system, that is automatic identification system, off. They put this system off in order to avoid the tracking. That is why it is called as the dark shipping. And also there is another term, that is the gray shipping. Gray shipping describes the operational military vessels. So if there is any military vessel that is operational in this particular sea or the ocean, so that is where it is called as the gray shipping. So there is small assignment for you. Find out what is green shipping. Find out what is green shipping and please mention it in the comments below. Next, trade weaponization. What is the definition of the trade weaponization? It is the strategic use of the trade as a foreign policy tool rather than a pure economic benefit. So trade is completely related to the economic few years back, but with the growing trend of the globalization and then the dependence of the countries upon the important imports and exports, so now trade has become a foreign policy tool and usage of this one has been weaponized. So this involves the now exploiting the economic vulnerability, also the trade dependencies. So if suppose a country X is dependent on the country Y, now the Y country can stop the supply in order to cripple the entire economy of the country X. So that is where, so the economic vulnerabilities are exploited and trade dependencies are used in order to influence the another country's behavior or the policies. So if you are following the news in the last 2 to 3 weeks, so the Donald Trump, the recent elected president of the United States, is advocating this particular aspect only, where the retaliated tariffs will be put on the country in order to bring that country on their knees and respect the United States of America. Sorry. Okay. And what are the key tools that are used in particular trade weaponization? So some of the tools are such as the selective import-export restrictions. Suppose US has imposed this CATSA sanctions. That means what, the economic sanctions will be imposed on some countries which are having the adversities on the US. So why here only selective import and export? So only for some particular goods and for some particular countries these restrictions are imposed. That is the selective import and export restrictions. Next, economic dependencies. For suppose China is controlling over the rare earth minerals. So the large chunk of the rare earth mineral supply in the entire world is controlled by the China. During the COVID, it was become evident that when the international borders has closed, when China has stopped the supply of this rare earth metal, the entire world faced a shortage of the semiconductor chips. So that is one example where it can be used. So that shows the potential of a particular trade as a weaponizing tool. So the next important is the non-tariff barriers. So the EU's restriction on the agricultural product requirements. So EU places different phytosanitary requirements, agricultural requirements, carbon mechanism requirements. All these are considered as a non-tariff barriers. So when there can be a question that, so which of the following, they can give you these 4 particular statements like selective import export restrictions, economic dependencies, non-tariff barriers, currency manipulation. So these 4 options they will be giving you, and they can ask you which of the following above are forms part of the trade weaponization tools. So there can be a question simply like this. Okay. And also next, this currency manipulation. So the depreciation. So depreciation cannot be done. So devaluation of the currency can be done by the whichever country is following the fixed pricing mechanism. And also trade restrictions for a political goals. So in order to achieve some of the political goals, trade restrictions can be. So this example recently is the Trump. So Trump has promised this in a political campaign during his elections, and he is now fulfilling this particular aspects in the US mechanism of the trade weaponization. And some of the notable examples here will be 1973 Arab oil embargo against the US and the oil allies, and the China's rare earth minerals leverage. That means the 60% of the production is controlled and 85% of the processing is controlled by this China. And China-Norway trade reduction over the Nobel Peace Prize issue in the 2010. So these are some of the examples. US sanctions on the Iran, Russia, and North Korea as part of the CATSA law. So these are some of the examples that are related to the trade weaponization. So the next and the last important topic as part of our international relations is the Anaconda strategy. So what is this Anaconda strategy? It refers to a military strategy which is proposed by the Union General Winfield Scott during the American Civil War. During the American Civil War, the Union General Winfield Scott has advocated this military strategy where the key objective was to suffocate the Confederacy economically and militarily, similar to how an anaconda snake coils around and asphyxiates its prey. So, as you all know, the anaconda snake will swallow this particular its prey, and it twists and suffocates its entire body structure. It suffocates this by twisting towards it with a tree or any other object. So in this way, the same way, the anaconda strategy says that in order to suffocate the Confederacy economically as well as militarily, that means by sidelining economically and militarily, imposing sanctions or what will crippling the entire economic structure or countering the military might power, all this combinedly doing is what we call as anaconda strategy. So now, what is this? Why it is in news? The Taiwan's Navy has recently claimed that China's military is employing this particular anaconda strategy to force Taiwan into submission without engaging in a full-scale invasion. So the China is not going for a full-scale invasion because there are international repercussions that can happen after the full-scale invasion. So as we have seen in case of the Russia, even it is not impacting the Russia very much also, but still the country like China will not force itself to go into that situation. So that is why it is not going for a full-scale invasion. But now Taiwan is claiming that the China is doing this particular anaconda strategy in order to make Taiwan submit to this what will be saying the Chinese demands. That is what it is saying. What it is saying that it is involving a mix of military maneuvers, psychological tactics, as well as the cyber warfare. So these are the metrics that are allegedly used by the China on the Taiwan. So this has been the claim of the Taiwanese Navy. That is why the anaconda strategy is in the news. So with this, we have finished the entire last 1 year of the current affairs related to the international relations very comprehensively. And after this, the next topic will be taken over from tomorrow. So you will be informed in the group. Please have please follow our Telegram channel, and there you will be finding the important information related to this particular program. I hope you all enjoyed this particular sessions and have learned enough for growing your strategy and growing the knowledge with respect to the Prelims 2025. So I hope you all followed these sessions very carefully, and please like this particular video if you are liking our initiative, and then share with your fellow aspirants whoever is preparing for this exam, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. So with this, let us end our classes, and thank you for staying with me towards all these 8 classes, and we'll once again meet if possible with covering the 3 months current affairs, which will be of the January, February and March before our prelims exam again. Okay, until then, take care, bye.